Chapter 32. Her. Numb horror pounded through Kendra, a wave of icy blackness paralyzing her, drowning her, shrinking her down to an insignificant spot of nothingness that tossed on a vast and empty sea. Finally, a word slipped from her insensate lips. Why? It was a naked syllable, inadequate to the scope of the moment, but the other her seemed to understand the full measure of the question. "Oh, Kendra," it said, in a tone disarming as the stillness of a viper. "I hope you didn't think I forgot about you. You were ripening so nicely." Kendra flinched as her reflection made a spasmodic twitch, a stutter in time, the manticore's sting hovering at Caleb's throat. "Take another step and I'll put it through his neck," it said pleasantly, and Kendra heard Maya stop her slow, deceptively casual approach. "What do you want?" Maya asked, brusque but too unnerved for the bluster to be convincing. "Why did you come here?" "Not for you, I'm afraid," the face dealer replied, almost courteously. "Not today, anyway. I'm here to see Kendra, of course. I need you to come with me now. You're coming along so nicely, but I still have much more to teach you. It would be a shame to waste all the progress we've made." Kendra could not look at that face any longer, at that smile wide as a chasm that turned that familiar ruin into a look into hell. Even when she looked away, that grin was burned into her head, along with all that came with it. She could feel 100 phantom torments play out across her belly, her hands, her legs, the recollections of smooth flesh, healed but unforgetting. "Kendra's not going anywhere with you," Maya snapped, a beacon of hopeless defiance. The other Kendra howled with laughter, trilling high into an animal scream, mirth and anguish bound in one chord. "Nothing to do with you," it said throbbingly, the voice still unmistakably her own, though Kendra prayed that no sound like that would ever come out of her mouth. So absurd, so stupid. I know Kendra isn't so stupid. No, no. You're a good girl, a sensible girl. You'd never let this happen to Caleb, I know. You're not as selfish as all of that, are you?" Irresistibly, Kendra's eyes were drawn up. She did not look up so far as to see that face leering back at her. Instead, she watched Caleb. He was breathing heavily, his eyes like coals, flickering with the frenzy of quarry caught fast in a trap. His teeth ground as claws dug against the hard-packed dirt, but all the fury was for naught. He could not save himself. That was something Kendra alone could do. "Fine," she said, almost without a tremor. Her gaze continued to be directed firmly down. She wasn't sure she'd have the strength for this otherwise. "If you let him go, I'll come with you." The face stealer let loose a long and shuddering sigh of satisfaction, but Kendra did not see it. She was looking at Caleb as the weight of the choice settled over her like the earth of her grave. Kendra was afraid, more afraid than she'd been in all her life. She wanted to vomit, to weep, to run, but as long as she looked down at Caleb, she would remember why she had to be strong for a little longer. She did not walk back into her own crucifixion for nothing. It would be for her friend. Weakly, she gave him a smile, but he did not return it. There was not even a trace of relief there. She had never seen him wear a look like that before. His eyes seared like a sun of blood with a pure and burning wrath. and with one feral snap of his claws, he grabbed the face-stealer's hand. Kendra could little more than cry out in dismay before it was all over. There was a flurry of movement as Caleb flipped the face-stealer over him with a deathly grip and pounced. The scream that followed was not of this world, but still, Kendra knew it. It was the scream she had made under the Hill of the Lost, a scream for when all humanity, all personhood, had been torn away. It was raw and ugly, a festering wound of a sound, and though there was something like justice in it, she could only feel sick. The face-stealer had risen, limbs snapping and lurching like an enormous spider, but it was retreating. Its face was transformed. That ever-present grin was finally gone, replaced by a grisly gash. Caleb had rent the monster to the bone with merciless claws, and Kendra watched as the horrors of one half of her face had spread to the other, a surging and hideous infection. But what caught Kendra's eye was a little thing, a tear near the hairline. A flap of skin hung down, almost neatly, and beneath it something was moving. Under the mask of her face there was another, pallid and unborn, a thing that was not meant to be seen. With a final inhuman shriek, the face-stealer vanished into the night. Kendra leaned faintly against the wall of the ravine, her mind overwhelmed with unanswerable questions. What had she seen? Why was it obsessively following her? What even was that thing? With a flicker of memory she saw the Witch of Words, a look of dark and fearful recognition at Kendra's story. It felt as if thoughts and nightmares would spill out until she could only hold her head to keep it all in. It was too much, all too much. Beside her, Caleb collapsed.